fantasy and adventure. Journey to another time, another place. Join in the struggle to possess the Dark Crystal. Rated PG. Starts Friday at a theater near you. Check newspapers for local details.
The blackest eyes, the devil's eyes.
You will suffer an eternity for this. I hate your whimper.
And I hate Kevin's whimper too. So welcome back everybody to another 0 Point Reviews, where we like to talk about the good, the bad, and we judge these movies. And we will also judge each other. That's right, we're doing 1982's The Dark Crystal. We have our buddy Justin with us this round, who is a Star Wars Marvel purist. Check out his channel. We will also be shilling him throughout and at the very end. So stay tuned. Also, check our description. We got the links down below as well for Justin. So go check out his channel. He's very good about what he does over there. Now, Justin, I'm going to start with you. What is your first memory of this movie, and what do you think of this one?
This is a personal favorite of mine. It reminds me. It kind of falls in the category of the Ewok movies, right? So we used to go. Well, I mean, yeah. Like we'd go and watch movies with my grandma and grandpa. Usually, like Sundays. We'd go over there, barbecue, stuff like that. So it'd always be like me and my cousin or cousins, like later on down the road. But unlike the Ewok movies, right? It was a theater release, but I was too young to go to the theater. I think it came out when I was like 2 or something. And back then, movies would come out about 2-3 years later. They'd be on a Sunday night movie type deal.
Yeah.
So I think I was probably like 5-ish or something like that, 5 or 6 the first time we seen it. But yeah, it was like super creepy as a kid, very weird, which was cool, because I'm into fucking weird shit. Lovecraftian horror, stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, that far back, it's always kind of jumbled around a little bit in the memory banks. But obviously I'm a big fan of Star Wars and Marvel, but being a horror fan, it definitely had the horror-esque vibes. It was definitely more dark fantasy than some of the other stuff coming out. And I was also watching stuff like Conan, Beastmaster, and stuff like that. And it's obviously not that dark, but it's pretty dark, I mean, sucking life essence out of creatures to extend your life and stuff like that. As a child viewer, that's kind of a lot.
No kidding. The immortality and morality regarding that.
Right. And it's funny when you hear people like touting Skeleton Crew as a kid show and stuff. It's like, this is the kind of shit I remember as a kid. Like, I think
right.
We had way more adult stuff when we were kids, and we were valued a little bit more and respected more, I think.
That's probably where my love of darker material came from, and it took years to actually for it to evolve. But this, looking back at things like this, and I don't know, I want to say like Labyrinth. We had our buddy last week on with us, and he was basically saying Labyrinth is a bit horror adjacent. Well, this would be horror adjacent as well. That would be Ken from Sledgehammer Horror, everybody, and he's pretty spot on, because I would also consider this a bit horror adjacent as well, because you got a lot of elements from the creature designs that are just crazy and otherworldly, and then the whole world in and of itself, which would then later on in the TV show that they do did for Netflix, that they would then really expand upon. And it got really they went even further, like pus drooling out of boils and everything in the show. Just kind of made me wish there was a little bit more of that in this movie back then. Wow, that would have been crazy. That would have sent kids screaming.
Definitely.
All right, Kevin, what about you? What's your first memory of this?
Oh gosh, we should probably have insurance for me for some of these nostalgic pictures that we do, so I could go seek therapy for the repressed memories of these movies bring about.
PTSD.
Yeah, man, for reals. This was a banger for me. So 1983 was probably the year that I first saw this. And I'd say it was either a VHS, Betamax sort of deal, or HBO. I'm not sure. But I know it was at my mom's friend, Suzanne Silva's house. And Chamberlain is the first thing that I could recall that ever scared the shit out of me. Like I that is his whimpering and yeah,
Hmm.
his conniving look and the beak and just the withered skin terrified me at 3 years old. Just absolutely terrified me at three. And watching it now at 44, almost 45, I'm like, Jesus Christ, no wonder I'm afraid. Like, I'm a coward in every sense because of this movie. Um, this was the first thing that ever scared me. And this was the first thing that ever intrigued me, I think. Like, I loved watching this. I couldn't look away. Did it terrify me? Sure, but it was so cool that I couldn't stop watching it. I wanted to see what the next creature looked like. I wanted to see what was going to happen in the story. I was way too young to understand what the story was back then, but I wanted to see what was happening, what new creatures were going to come, and what new havoc was going to take place.
Nice. I was about 5 when this came out. I didn't actually see this till probably I was like 10 or 11. I absolutely know for a fact it was one of those Saturday or Sunday night Disney movie nights that was airing this. That's how when Justin mentioned that a minute ago, I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's how I saw this movie for the first time. And I don't know if they like edited too terribly much. The movie clocks in at about 93 minutes. For TV back then, that was about perfect for a family night movie night. So I know I saw it on TV and it was on the Saturday, Sunday night movie night. And I remember thinking, this is pretty good. But for the longest time, I think before I got a chance to see it, I thought, oh, I hear of Dark Crystal and Labyrinth amongst my friends. And oh, they sound fine. They don't really sound like my speed. Because back then I was way more into, like, say, Beverly Hills Cop. I was really watching like Star Wars, the original trilogy, and Indiana Jones all the time. So I kind of
Sure.
had a little variety. I didn't really get into fantasy per se until much, much later on. But when I finally got a chance to see this on TV, I was like, this is really good. And then I didn't see it again for a long time until it came out on, I want to say DVD. I didn't buy it, but I watched it there. And then I haven't watched it again since until my wife and I found out about the Netflix show. And I bought the 35th anniversary Blu-ray from Sony because they're the ones who put it out. And we've watched it every year for the last couple of years, and every time I watch it, it gets better and better and better. And I would actually argue this ages a lot better than Labyrinth did. So,
Oh, that one
I would
word.
agree.
what's that, Kevin?
I said that one word. God,
What?
your mother was an F aardvark.
Oh, Kevin.
I'm just saying. There was
And
a
that's how we
slur.
lose people watching us. Way to go. I knew Kevin could drive people away. That's why he's always here on this show with us, everybody.
Henson said it, not me. I mean, her mother
Whatever.
could have been. We don't know that.
It's funny you mentioned the original trilogy because everyone was kind of copying George Lucas. There's
Yeah.
not big like plagiarisms in this, but like with the mystics and the main mystic when he passes away and then he fucking like dematerializes and shit, like
Oh,
Yoda going into
that
the
was not
water.
lost on me at all.
Yeah, yeah, and they were doing that. Even remember Masters of the Universe? We were looking
Yep.
forward to that, and that was like Star Wars light, right? They had like fucking hoverboards and like guns and stuff that weren't in the He-Man universe to made it look like
Blasters.
it was blasters basically. Yep.
Yeah. God. And just the comparisons, there's multiple ones. Like, and of course you got Frank Oz who's voicing in this as well. As God, Agra? Agra?
I think so.
Yes.
And so it's just nice to see some of the compliments between the two. And then George would and ILM would ultimately help out on Labyrinth with some scripting and some consulting and matte paintings. So, and yeah, I saw like a couple of vintage interviews, and they were talking about, like, we were told this kind of looks like Star Wars. So we started saying it. We kind of got inspiration from Star Wars, and it helped with their pitch to studios and everything. So it was kind of funny. Like Henson clearly knew of Star Wars. He just didn't really think like, I'm not really pulling from that movie, but I'll take the compliments and I'll use it to my advantage. So why the
Yeah,
hell
it's
not?
the mythology and the spirituality and stuff like that. That's like obviously where they drew the most. I did realize on the rewatch last night, this movie, where like, does this rip off or did this movie rip off from this? The dog, what is it, Fizzgig or something like that?
Disney? Yeah.
But I'm like, did they rip this off of Critters or Critters ripped it off of this? And I think Critters kind of maybe not ripped it off, but they kind of took inspiration from that character, right? Because
Because that was
he
what,
looks
84?
Critters was 86, so it was
Oh,
like 4 years
86.
after.
Jeez.
If you look, that character like totally reminds you of fucking a critter. So
I can
Absolutely.
actually see that mentally right now.
yeah.
That's really good. All right. Well, that's a great little intro for the Dark Crystal. Before we get going, everybody, please hit the like button down below. Subscribe to our channel so you can stay tuned to all of our video content, and make sure you hit that notification button. That really does help. And comment, participate in the chat. Love to have you around. So let's get to it. I'm going to go ahead. We're going to start with Kevin. Kevin, tell us about one of your best good things about the Dark Crystal.
Oh gosh, I think the good for me is not having seen this as often as Labyrinth. I'm kind of the way that you were, where I saw this a lot as a kid. It stuck with me. Um, but I watched things like Justin said, like Conan and Beastmaster more the older I got. And so like I wound up getting those on DVD first. Of course, like those were released a bit sooner than this was, but um, I think the long amount of time it took between DVD and VHS for me watching this, and then again from DVD to Blu-ray, uh, really kind of made it so I wasn't tired of this movie. I didn't remember exactly what was going to happen, and it feels like it's always new every time you see this for me. And I really like that. There's always something to pick up in this movie because it's a very complex story. It's a children's movie, but it's not a simple story at all. Like they don't dumb it down for kids. Like you said, this is not Skeleton Crew. It's not where the endings the bad guy resolution is, well, okay, you win, never mind. Goodbye. I'm gonna go this way. That's literally how the fucking Skeleton Crew ends, kids. Like, no, that's not how this ends. Like, evil forces have to reconjoin with good forces to become regular forces again. And it's like very complex. And it's like so interesting. You can't stop watching it. You can't turn away because the story is so complex and so fun.
Well, they did a lot of world building, like really effectively. Like there's plenty of times you're kind of wondering, well, can they explain this? Oh, hey, there's ruins that. This isn't modern sensibilities. Back then, they allowed you to fill in the gaps with your mind. You could
Yeah.
imagine what possibly happened to lead to the events of the Dark Crystal. Because like 1,000 years have passed. And it's really enticing and really, I want to say, captivating to just wonder more about this world in general. And I know they ended up doing some books off of the movie. My wife has them. I have not yet to, I'm not much of a reader. I would have read them myself, but and that's largely what the TV show bases itself off of, is the books leading into this. And
Oh.
and so the mythology is actually, there is a lot of backstory. And the one interview I saw with Henson was they never designed this to be part of a larger series of direct sequels. There could be more movies in this world, but they would not be direct sequels like an actual trilogy or quadrilogy or anything like that. So they never intended this to be more than just a one-off for this particular story. So when they put this script together, they really took their time to make sure it was tight and packed and ready to go. I love the world building because they establish characters, and imply and insinuate a few things here and there, but allow you to actually engross yourself in the world. And that's something like modern movies like Avatar. They do the complete opposite. They beat you over the head with so much exposition and world building that it's like, there's like a 90-minute story in this 3-hour movie. Can we just get on with it? As opposed to this movie where it's like 93 minutes and you want like 3 more hours of it.
Yes, and the neat thing is you are in the same position as the viewer as Jin is, the main Gelfling. He's going out into this world for the very first time, and so are you. So you're going on this journey along with him, and that's a very neat standpoint to have as a viewer.
Yeah, definitely. And that's my wife was like when he meets the other, what's her name? Oh, I can't forget her name now. But when they touch, and they start like doing the and they start doing the shared memories. Because at first you're like, well, what's this? And then boom, it gets into it, and they start talking about. So it fills it in, but not like too. And then oh, okay, so you're up to speed. But yeah, I would say number one, the artistry of this movie is definitely amazing, especially in the world we live in today with all the CG and everything. Like the character creations, the diversity of the character, not that kind of diversity, you know what I'm saying? But you have like the crab characters versus the Skeksis versus and they're very distinct, like each one. Yes. Like what's her name, Agra or whatever, she's like a ram, right? She's supposed to be kind of like a ram, right? She has a ram horns, kind of a version of that. And then I think they're the Gartham, right? They're the crab creatures.
Yep.
And then you have the mystics and the Skeksis, and then even the little podlings, right? They're their own little characters and stuff. And but yeah, the environment of the world, all the weird creepy stuff going on with the different creatures, the plant life, like it's just it really is awesome, man. And it's all practical, I mean, obviously they probably use a little bit of baseline CG that like ILM was like dabbling in, but like we hadn't really gotten there in that era yet. So but yeah, it was really awesome, man. Like just everything, characters, the pacing of the story, right? I mean, again, back then most movies were about an hour and a half, and they just you get to it, right? They don't really waste time or anything like that.
Right.
But the characters were great, pacing was great, story was good, and the story, like they're hinting at stuff, but it's not like you're going to figure out what they're hinting at. Like, oh, there's some kind of connection between the Mystics and the Skeksis, but you don't know what. You can't. There's no way you'd figure out at the end what was going to happen. Versus I liked Long Legs. I just saw that recently. That was a pretty cool movie, like horror-ish movie. But like I was able to guess the ending of the like what was going on like about halfway through. You know what I'm saying? Like you couldn't really do that with this movie. It was pretty complex storytelling, like like Kevin was saying.
Yeah, because when I watched this for the first time in a lot of years with my wife, like literally the first time a few years ago, I was thinking, like, I didn't remember how the movie ended because I was telling my wife at the time, like, I don't remember much of this. I haven't watched this movie in like 12, 15 years by the time I watched it with her. And so it was almost like watching it for the first time again. And that ending is just, it's tight, it's strong. And you really all of a sudden start to wonder, hey, you know what? I should have been paying a little bit more attention during the early parts of this movie because they do hint at things along the way. Hey, you get stabbed me in the hand. Oh, one of the mystics gets stabbed in the hand. Now, for more people our age, if you're watching this for the first time, you'll probably spot all this stuff within like seconds and remember it for the rest of the movie. But back then, as kids, this was really more for us as kids. Adults, you got your Conan, like Justin was talking about. For us, it was Dark Crystal. And as far as like, you said Ewoks, I can't think of any other fantasy level movies that weren't animated.
Willow,
that would
maybe.
I don't like Willow.
It's not dark fantasy though.
Yeah. Fuck Willow.
God, I hate Willow. But no, I appreciate the surprises and the endings at where they converge into one being, and it's like, oh damn, that's pretty cool. You actually were one solid being before, and now you've reunified with each other. Like that's pretty rad. So I like how the mystics just linger in the background for most of the movie until that part.
Yeah, until their long trek, their 5-day journey, because they're so slow. My son's 11, and he watched it with us for the first time, and he could tell he was like fiddling around, and you could tell he was probably uncomfortable because it was probably creeping him out a little bit too, because he didn't really want to sit still. And so it definitely still does a good job. I was surprised, again, how well it held up for sure.
Now, is there anything you felt like was a little bit dated or not? Not really.
Not really. In fact, when we get to it, the weakest point of the movie is kind of probably going to be surprising, but there's not really many weak points, but
Yeah. The other thing I want to point out, especially that's really good about this movie, is the music, because that gives off some nice epic fantasy vibes and also some horror movie vibes. I swear to God, I was hearing like Friday the 13th themes and a couple other different movie themes during some of the
cave
sounds.
scenes and stuff, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is so rad. And I finally had it on my stereo system in here, and I'm like, I'm enjoying this way more than I did the last time, because I had it cranked up in here and it was awesome.
Sweet.
Oh yeah.
God, I want to get like the soundtrack. I know there's one out there, and I should probably get one for my wife. So that might be happening sooner rather than later, because Valentine's is coming up. So
I watched it with my Sennheisers on, so I could not complain.
Damn, that's rad.
Yeah, it was kind of nice. I mean, it was small because I was watching it on the phone, but at least I was spoiling my spoiling my auditories, if you will.
Oh, this is a movie that belongs on the big screen. I want to see this in a theater one of these days. If they ever do like a Fathom event or something, I'd totally go for it.
They did recently, but I didn't go. To that one
I missed it.
Or Labyrinth. Labyrinth, I'm sure they'll do again in a couple years.
Oh, I didn't.
They'll do that every David Bowie's birthday, for all I know.
That was last week. Week before last week. Sorry.
Oh.
I love Bowie.
Who doesn't love Bowie? He's not Sting.
Oh, I'm
Ouch.
sorry. It was his death date a couple weeks ago. I'm sorry.
Did you like anything else about this movie, Kevin?
Oh, fudge. Let's see here. No. I mean, it's just the mythology of it. Like we said, this movie builds so much layer upon layer of what this world is and what happened to it, what it used to be versus what it is now, and what it could be again in the future. This is just a pretty movie. It's fun to watch through each different scene. All the characters are beautifully crafted. It does not bother me at all that this is a serious story produced with puppets. Like it doesn't feel like you're watching anything kiddie. The fact that you say that you're watching a puppet movie is almost disrespectful to it. Like, this is a truly beautiful piece of art. This is what this picture is.
Reminds me of people talking bad about Farscape. Hey, it's a serious Muppet science fiction show. Blah! Get out of here with that mess. That's a fantastic show, too. So most of the Henson projects have always been pretty damn good to awesome to the occasional misstep, but this is not one of those at all.
No. Anything with Henson's going to make you enjoy yourself. And the best part about Henson Productions is, if you're like us, if you were raised with these, you already know that there's no reason to have any level of rationality. Like, get rid of rationality. Get rid of it. Suspend disbelief, because what you're about to see is going to be irrational, but regular. Just accept the irrational, and you're going to enjoy what you see. It's going to be a crazy ride, what we're going to take you on. And this was probably the craziest ride he ever took people on, I think.
Probably one of them. This would have to be the one, because this is the one that's had the better legs as far as a movie and potential to go. Because we'll never get another Labyrinth. They want to remake it. as far as Dark Crystal goes, we'll get into it when we cover the show with Kevin and I. But basically, they did books. There's a few other things out there, and they did a prequel TV series, which was really good. And so that had more legs than, say, Labyrinth did. But I'm totally appreciative of it. Now, my last question before we head on over to the bad is, what did you guys think of Jin and Kira playing the role of David versus Goliath with the Skeksis? Do you think that was effective or not?
Well, that's it kind of goes into the bad, actually. I think the protagonists are probably and they're not bad, but they're probably the weakest link. Like, if I had to pick one thing about the movie that wasn't taught like the best, was probably them as the protagonists. But again, there's still lots of world building and stuff off their like relationship, and then like teaching the lore with the memory sharing and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I think he's kind of a not boring protagonist. He doesn't have to be, because the writing's so good and the story's so good and the effects and just everything is so awesome that it doesn't. He just needs to be like Kev was saying, right? You're basically, the viewer is seeing the story through his eyes, and you're going on that journey with him and stuff. So that's all he needs to be, right? He doesn't need to be like this super, awesome freaking protagonist character.
What, he's not Link, he's not Luke, he's not
all
these other awesome characters. Yeah.
But I think,
and that in itself
original, makes it better.
Yeah.
For you as the viewer, I think that makes it better. That makes the Skeksis scarier for you.
Yes. Yep. Very good point. Yep.
So go on, be a pussy, just like me.
Yeah, they were pretty like middle of the road, pretty plain. I mean, I like the relationship between Kira and Jen, but at the same time, I'm like, man, these are your two best choices. At least we're not doing like the Frodo arc. Like, oh, hey, I'm the only one who could throw this ring into the mountain of Mordor. If Jin couldn't have done it, Kira could have done it herself too. So they could have gotten the damn crystal and the damn thing, and it would have made no difference between the two of them. So
besides, she could fly and fucking speak to animals. So,
which I remember seeing that the first time, and seeing her fly was like, what the hell?
Yeah, I totally had forgotten about that. I didn't even know she could do that.
Yeah. All right, we're officially into the bad guys, and Justin just talked about one of his bads. Kevin, do you got one too?
Oh gosh, no, not really. Other than the fact that people would have a hindrance of watching this because it's a puppet show. Please let that go. That's the only thing that I would say could be bad about this, is people have a stigma against puppets. This is such a strong and powerful story, and the TV show has such a strong and powerful story that it does not matter that the characters you are seeing are being represented by puppets. Like, these creatures are beautiful. They don't look janky. They look scary. They look real. You're seeing movement and facial features that you see in real life. Don't have a stigma against movies like this. Like, most certainly give them a shot, because this movie is probably one of the higher rated features we've watched in general. Like, the TV show is probably the highest rated things we've watched so far on NTV. Like, it's that good. The movie is that good. Don't let a stigma for kiddie stuff drive you away from something like this, because this is not a kiddie movie. No. Otherwise, I don't think it's bad. I don't have any disrespect for this movie. I don't have any wants for it or wishes it could have done this, could have done that.
Well, that's why I said it's the weakest part. I didn't say it was bad. It's just if I have
just got to be a little critical.
Yeah, right. Like, I wouldn't say like, hey, yeah, the Gelflings are fucking way more badass than the Skeksis or something,
Yeah, like, there's no punishment for the Skeksis, and that's kind of the way it is. There doesn't need to be punishment for them. I guess their punishment is they no longer get to live their cruel lives freely as they did. Like, they have to be kept in check with their super ego now.
Yeah, it's the yin and the yang of the mystics and the Skeksis, and now they're both one being, and now they have to like deal with the good and the bad all at one time. So that's one of those symbolic things I really enjoyed about the movie. But it also, to that other point, is there is no real comeuppance. It's more of a nope. Now you and I are we're gonna be battling this out for the rest of our lives amongst ourselves. And so we've still lost an entire world in general for thousands of years. Lots of lives have been lost. Essence
Yeah.
has been taken, and it's like, oh, that's too bad. But you do get the uplifting moment at the end on this is time for a world to be reborn. Now everything has been restored. The castle is beautiful and shining again. The lands are now healthy and thriving. Terrific visual work on that. I love that. I loved all the goddamn scenes where you saw everything just in the backgrounds. But it turned out to actually be pretty all right as far as like even what they were leaving the movie with and having you walk out of the theater feeling I went on an adventure. This was a
Yeah.
lot of fun. Is there anything I probably would have changed? There's maybe a couple of things. I know my wife is not a fan of the fizz gig. I found the damn thing a little annoying, but not as much as she did. Personally, it's more I find like two of the main heroes to be a bit on the weak side, and Agra seems to just kind of be like the Gandalf character that just shows up just for a minute of exposition here and there.
Yeah. And they used her that way in the show too, a little bit, right? That's what I remember. They do a great job of recreating like her little laboratory and all that shit, like in the
Yes.
show as well.
Yeah,
They make her out to be Yoda in the show.
Yeah.
a little bit. And in the show, they also explain how much more important she was to the world instead of just this one
A
character
witch.
you go to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to separate part of the show from like the movie because it all feels like one nice story together
Well,
that's still somewhat incomplete because the show got canceled.
I finished my binge with the movie. Like I capped it off watching the movie. And that's why I'm kind of like there's no comeuppance for them because like
Probably the way to go.
according to the show, they deceived her before they split apart. Like
Yep.
they deceived her knowing then they split apart between the Skeksis and the Mystics.
Yeah.
So it's like at the end there, she probably still should have said, "Hey, you fuckers screwed me over."
Right.
But
Yeah, and I don't think I rewatched this before the show, so I think a lot of it I probably didn't realize some of the stuff story wise. So that'd be kind of interesting to go back and rewatch that.
Yeah, the show only answers like some questions because they are clearly setting up for a multi-season season 2 and probably season 3. And beyond that, I don't know. But I seem to remember there was mention of we had plans for 2 more seasons. Beyond that was another story. Like they could do more, but I don't think they were intending to do more than 3.
Now, season 1 ends pretty dark too, right? If I remember correctly.
I haven't finished yet. I have like one more episode, so I don't remember.
There is a bummer to it, and the darkening is coming, but it ends on a victory.
Okay.
Well, it ends on a higher note, but
I remember like the forest scene or something, the dark forest. It was like chasing them down or some shit like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
The darkening is spreading.
Yeah.
Yep. The other bad about this is if anybody wants the 4K on this, Scream Factory is overcharging everybody for it. God, the crazy expensive editions, and I really want to get one for my wife, but
yeah, they're like $30
on sale. They're $30. If you want one of the fancy collector's editions, they get upwards of about $370.
Yep.
So
And I don't need that kind of swag.
But otherwise, you can get the Sony Blu-ray, no problem. It's on Amazon, it's on Tubi, it's on Pluto, it's on the Scream Factory, Shout Factory channels. So if you just want to just watch it, there's plenty of places to go and check it out. Just check your favorite service; it might be there already. Okay, well, that being said, I got nothing bad about this movie beyond any of that. I think Justin described it better. That was probably more the weak, not the bad.
Yeah.
All right, final judgment time. Justin, what are your overall thoughts on this movie? And you want to give this a score for us?
All right, so I'm trying to use my buddy J-Man's rating scale now. Yeah, it's called Space, Story, Pacing, Artistry, Characters, Enjoyment on a scale of 0 to 2. That way it's, you get to 10 points to get a 10. I'd say the story, probably like a 1.5, right? Maybe not I don't know. I would probably say it's 2. Because it has like, again, you can't really determine the ending or anything like that. I think it's pretty amazing. Pacing, probably like a 1.5. Great pacing. Like you're not really bored or anything. It just moves, kind of like everything in the 80s. Artistry, 2, amazing, just awesome. And the characters, I would say 2 also, because again, even though the Gelfling, like they serve their purpose, right? And then all the other characters are so distinct and different, and the world and all that. And then enjoyment, I'd give it a 2 also. So I guess I would give it a 9 or 9.5 out of 10.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's fun. Like the enjoyment, I'd give it a 3 if I could, right? Because it is fun, right? It was fun as a kid, creepy as a kid, and I had a good time watching it as an adult. So,
is this one of your personal favorites from childhood, or do you have one that's just a little bit higher on the scale for you?
I mean, man, obviously like the original trilogy, Terminator. That's a little later on though, right? Aliens, right? Like to me, like a big thing I like to do when I grade stuff too is rewatchability, right? Or if you'll like, obviously now you stream stuff and everything now, but back in the day, if you walk in a room and somebody's watching part of Terminator 2, do you just walk on, or do you sit down and watch it to the end, right? Like that movie, Predator, like there's certain movies, like no matter what, you're going to watch them like to the end and stuff, right? If you happen to flip by on the channel or something like that, that's the sign of a great movie. And this one's just totally cool, dude. So yeah, this is definitely a childhood favorite. Like there's lots of other ones too. Conan. I think Beastmaster is super underrated. I think I rewatched that about a year and a half ago, and that is a lot darker than I remember. That shit was pretty dark. Yes,
this is my
awesome
LED VHS tape from Vinegar Syndrome, DeGosser Video. So still sealed. I haven't opened it yet, but you open it up and the VHS cassette tape actually lights up. It's a little bit like a display piece, but
cool.
I couldn't resist. Beastmaster is one of my jams, but I never really felt like it was really intended for kids until the second one. And I know Don Coscarelli's like, the second one, don't talk about that one, please.
Yeah, I don't even know if I saw the second one. I think I probably did because I loved the first one. But yeah, the first one is freaking amazing, I think.
Mark Singer was awesome. All right, Kevin, what about you?
Golly, you know what? I've said this a couple times. I'm gonna put this up there with Tremors. This is a perfect 10. This is a timeless movie. It ages perfectly. It doesn't age at all. It's a beautiful piece of art. It will scare you. It will awe you. It will allure you. This picture will make you feel every emotion across the spectrum. You're going to be excited watching this picture. You're going to feel like you went on an adventure, like you just said. You're going to feel like you want to watch this movie again. Maybe not immediately. You're not going to want to rewind it like as soon as the tape ends, or hit restart, since we're streaming now. But no, like I said, you could watch this. You could watch this universe for hours and be just as satisfied, but not be satisfied at all, because it's so vast and it's so beautiful that you could always see more. Like, again, I watched 6 hours of this and then watched the movie, and I was still like, well, what do I do now? I felt so empty. So like, this is a perfect good time. This is a very perfect good time.
I like it. I would call this probably one of the best family friendly movies you could watch from our childhood. I would argue this is probably the one to show your kids, and you can watch this as an adult, still enjoy it. It's timeless. Nothing ages poorly about it. There's no random jokes or random characters that, oh, hey, that was fun as a kid. And as an adult, you're like, that's a bit awkward. Like David Bowie's Package last week, everybody, do we really need to revisit that? No, that does not happen in this movie. So you can at least take stock in the fact that the movie, it knows its lane and it stays in it. And it borders at times on some darker themes and some more mature themes, but without going too far over into the lanes of being preachy or anything like that. You have a fun story. It's supremely well paced for 93 minutes. Every time I watch this, it's like, shit, it's over? God damn. And I didn't take any notes. Oh, darn, I have to watch this movie again.
Yep.
I've watched this movie 3 times so I could take notes, and I'm still not even reading my notes. So, what does that tell you? Like, you don't need while the plot is complex, you do not have to feel like you're trying to unveil like some deep novel. You're just enjoying the world. You're on an adventure. That's the whole point of this movie, and to provide you something that nobody else could. Henson delivered that in spades with the Dark Crystal. I'm giving this a very easy, and I don't do this often. I'm going to give this 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I would agree.
Who would have thought I lowballed with 9.5, huh?
Well, even like any critical notes I would have are not enough to knock the score down for me. And that's just a personal opinion. Other people might feel like, hey, the story's fine. It's not as deep as some of you guys are claiming it is. It is, but if you're looking for something a lot deeper and more complex, then this is only going to fill the gap in part way for you. It's like,
Yeah, watch the show.
yeah, the show is where they fill in a lot of that information that you would like to have maybe seen in this movie, or potential like another movie set in this world. But I think it does just fine. This is probably one of the best kid-friendly, family-friendly fantasy movies from the 80s. And I hate Willow. So
I got a Star Wars joke inference dig. Is this Jim Henson, or is this all because of Gary Kurtz, because he's the one who produced it? I'm joking because people like to say that, right, about
right.
Empire and in Star Wars and then Return of the Jedi and all that. It's all downhill because Gary Kurtz wasn't involved, blah blah blah.
Oh yeah. I love getting those stories. It took me a minute. I'm like, oh, I see what you're doing here.
Because I'm not in that camp. I love the prequels. So,
the prequels are pretty good. I'm actually
the prequels do the world building
do a
like
rewatch
this.
of those soon, like maybe in May on my own time. We're not making it part of our schedule, well, because we got something else planned that month. But we'll see what we can do. But I'm intending to watch all 6 of them once we get to May.
I like the all 6 of them part. Sounds good.
Because there's only 6, and then a nice little side story called Rogue One. Which I know who gives a shit about Rogue One. Well, I like it. I don't love it, but I like it enough to be. I'm gonna watch it too, because I know we're getting Andor later this year. Which I don't know. I don't think I've ever asked Justin. We can do a little off topic, really quick. Andor, how do you feel on that, Justin? Or have you?
I feel like it's not Star Wars. And it upends lots of Star Wars lore that I know, like Mon Mothma lore, and Bail Organa already got kind of ruined in Obi-Wan Kenobi. So and they just make it a different building towards the rebellion. So yeah, I'm not a big fan.
Okay, oh, that's fair. Well, that being said, I love your Star Wars and Marvel content. Justin, you want to tell everybody about you and then where they can find you?
Yeah, I mean, basically I cover pre-Disney Star Wars and Marvel, I mean, I will get into like certain parts of like Marvel comics, like after the Disney purchase, because they didn't really mess with the comics division for a while. But even then, like I'm a big continuity person and lore person. So once Grant Morrison rebooted the X-Men, Marvel Comics was like not dead to me, but it like ruined everything, right? Because contrary to popular belief, DC was the one always doing resets and time travel and multiverse. Like they weren't really doing that at Marvel. Like the first Secret Wars, it was, you go to this place, you fight, they win, they get a wish, everybody goes back, and it doesn't mess with continuity in everyone's story. But yeah, so I mean, but again, I cover like a lot of the original stuff and a lot of the expanded universe. We do books, comics. On Thursday, I have a show. We're going to be deep diving book 2 of the New Jedi Order, which is a 19 book series.
Wow.
That was when they transferred from the Bantam era to Del Rey, was the new publishing arm, and they had already been kind of paying attention to continuity after Heir to the Empire trilogy, but this is when they really wanted to raise the stakes and stuff, because it started to feel like they were regurgitating the same storylines and stuff, or versions of storylines. So they made this big 19 book epic, and and George Lucas was pretty heavily involved in the beginning setup of what could and couldn't be done with it and stuff. But yeah, so I'm going to have Matt Wilkins on, who's like a big expanded universe guy that's been covering it since the Disney purchase on YouTube. And then my buddy Tim from United Spacers Alliance. So we're going to deep dive. It'll probably be 2 different streams, but on Thursday, we're going to start at 9:15 and get into that second book, which is Dark Tide Onslaught. Besides that, I stream on Monday nights. I usually shoot for 8 Central Time, but I usually don't start until 9 because, real life work and all that good stuff. But and then I do a Marvel one too, pure unadulterated Marvel. The next one I'm doing, I think, is going to be February 1st. Triumph and Torment, which is Doctor Doom and Doctor Strange, and they go to try to save the soul of Doctor Doom's mother from Mephisto. It was a Roger Stern. Mike Magnola was the artist, and he's the one who created Hellboy. Yeah,
I remember that one.
It's a great story, and for the way the MCU likes to be different and try fresh things instead of shoehorning Doom in and doing Secret Wars like they're doing. I have been suggesting they do this story for like 7 or 8 years because it's a different. The one thing Doom's missed in all the different iterations, they've made him Electric Man and scientist and this, but they've never really touched the mystic side of him. And that
he's a gypsy.
The original. It would have been a great original way to get the magical version of Doom to kick it off. So
interesting.
Yeah. Doom's mom was Romany, wasn't she?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's right.
Yeah,
not a Marvel guy. I don't know.
Kind of like a 3-part story, because in the beginning it's the ancient one's getting old and is going to die or whatever. So it's a contest for who's going to be the next Sorcerer Supreme, right? And Stephen Strange obviously wins, but because Doom's the runner-up, he has to do a favor for Doctor Doom. And Doctor Doom, there's a backstory of him trying to save his mother's soul from Mephisto. So he tells Strange that his favor is to come help him free his mother's soul. And then Doom does Doom stuff because he's Doctor Doom. So.
Yeah. He's got a device.
That's what I do. We did get into all that stuff, and it's fun. We have a good time.
Awesome. And Kevin, where can people find you at?
You could find us right here 3 times a week, usually on the Sons and Shadows YouTube channel and sonsandshadows.com. We're here on NTV, which is the Graveyard Shift with Forgotten Television series. We're here every other week with that show. We're here every week on Tuesdays with 0-Point Review, shows like this, where movies like this, where we've movies that have no reason to be reviewed again because they're 30, 40 years old, but damn it, they're so goddamn good, we're just going to review them anyway. And of course, every Saturday night at 9 on 0-Point, no, not 0-Point Reviews, Deadwire Live, where we do live streaming of all the week's entertainment news, news in general, lots of jokes. It's a variety of craziness we do on the live stream.
Yep, and we try and convince Kevin on not doing certain things, and he does them anyway.
It's true.
All right, everybody. What's that?
I do tricks.
Yes, you do, and sometimes he charges everybody. So you got to bring your super chat money for those, and we will make him sing, dance, and anything else you want him to do. All right, thank you everybody for tuning in. Please hit the like button on the way out. We would greatly appreciate it. Throw a comment down below about any memories, any favorite thoughts, or critical thoughts about Dark Crystal. Put them down below. We do read them and we do interact. So please also hit the subscribe button and the little bell notification on the way out, and we will see you all on the next one.